Tell me, class, who are your favorite monsters? We'll be discussing which creatures of the night we're most thankful for on a special Turkey Day episode of Ghoul School. Welcome, class, to the new and improved Ghoul School. It turns out that accidentally burning the place to the ground was a kind of blessing in disguise, in that I'm now swimming in insurance money, and you all get to sit outside. See? We all have something to be thankful for. Also, speaking of disguises, Professor Solomon Poisonflower turned out to just be 3 turkeys in a trench coat, and has since been fired for not checking that box on his application. So, please give a warm welcome to your well-seasoned substitutes.
Hello and welcome to another period at the Ghoul School. I am your host, one of the 3, Brian Sauce for turkeys, Stork.
And I am Nolan, necessary for the quality of this podcast, Vinoy.
And I'm Caroline, couldn't think of anything fast enough, Knight.
Okay, so I did kind of a Thanksgiving thing, and then both of you guys just left me at the fuck out to dry on that one.
Yeah.
Get dunked
It's
on.
Thanksgiving time. It's Thanksgiving Day, and you're all
Gobble
here.
gobble, here we are.
You're all here in class on Thanksgiving, so
You don't get no breaks from the Ghoul School.
never any breaks from the Ghoul School except last week when we took a break.
Yeah. I mean, we're all chained to this desk, so,
Yeah.
you have to suffer a little bit.
So we thought that we would do something a little bit different with this episode, where we're going to talk about the specific monsters, creatures, ghouls that we are all thankful for, and we're going to put them into a top list of our
Monster Mount Rushmore.
hell yeah Monster Mount Rushmore, our top
did the
4
theme
monsters.
this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me do a theme once in a while.
I'll do the book report themes.
Okay.
And what are my themes?
You
I
don't
want a
have
theme.
them. Yours
You
is
need
the
to intro
opening
the
the podcast.
Yeah.
My
You
theme
don't get anything else.
My theme is the absence of a theme.
Yes.
Anytime there's silence, that's my theme.
The void is your theme.
It's because
Yeah.
Brian hates the music.
So I
of the
figured,
night.
I mean, I do have to listen to it every time I edit this, and it's very loud. But,
Brian doesn't like the groove. Brian doesn't have the groove in his bones.
It's true. I do not have the groove in
I
my
got the
bones.
funk right here, Brian, but you
Brian,
don't want it.
could you tell me what you do have in your bones? Is it love for these monsters? Because I
It's
hope it is.
love, it's marrow and stuff, but there's definitely love in there. I guess I can start us off with my first
I'd
nomination.
love it if you'd
Well,
pitch me your
first-
first monster.
Yeah.
Before we do that, let's talk about the criteria of which that we're going to
yes.
judge these
Okay.
monsters.
Very
Yeah.
important what we're grading these boys on.
First is spookability.
Sure.
Yes.
Spookability.
How terrified am I when I go to bed after seeing said monster?
Right.
Okay.
How
Second-
genuinely scary they are.
Second is iconography. How iconic are these monsters?
If I saw them on the street, would I know who they were?
Exactly. You know, if you looked up at a head in a mountain that got carved out of a mountain, would you be like, yeah, that guy was
Yeah,
important?
I see that guy.
Like 3 out of the 4 guys on
know
Mount
him.
Rushmore.
Yeah.
Then we got it was a make fun ability. How easy is it to make fun of this
Now
monster?
this one I'm not sure
Yeah,
how
I was
this
gonna
is
say,
gonna
I don't
work,
know if I
because
like
does
this one. I'm
Is it a
confused.
positive? Like if you can really make fun of it, is it a positive or a negative?
That's up to you to decide.
okay. So this measuring scale is really
We
more
don't-
of an
we-
art than a scale.
Yeah.
we don't need to. You know, like when you watch a good movie and the movie's like, what do you? When the movie asks you like, I don't know, man. What do you think?
I thought we
And,
were
like,
looking for more quantitative data, but you're going
No,
more qualitative.
no. We're going more qualitative here.
All right.
I want to ask. I want the audience to, kind of decide for themselves. Like,
Yeah.
did the character
As
arc
if it
happen?
is not, in fact, our job to
We're
like
doing-
guide them
look.
along this journey.
We're doing heart math today.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
this is kind of where we're at right now, and I
Hey,
think that's
how's
good.
your soul? Chicken soup for the Ghoul School soul.
I'm also gonna say we should grade them on like escapability or lethality, like
Okay.
how
yeah, that's a
deadly
great
of a
idea.
monster is this. So we will talk about spookiness, iconicness.
Yeah.
Can you make fun of them, I guess?
Can you bully? How easy to bully?
Okay, how about
That's
we
it. It's bullyability.
Bullyability.
bullyability,
Yeah.
and then lethality or non-lethality to you or them.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Got it.
There are going to be so many fucking numbers in this one. Is someone going to take these down? Are we actually going to like...
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Oh, are we about to do some math to figure out who makes it into the fucking
I think
top
it'll
four?
be more based on who we love the most, but I will tally up some numbers.
In all of the
Give me some
podcasts,
numbers.
in all of the podcast books on how to make podcasts, how to do it right that I've ever read, all of them have said unequivocally more math.
More
It
numbers.
needs as much math
If
as
there's anything
possible.
I like, it's algebra.
You need
Okay.
more numbers.
So, my first nomination to this Monster Mount Rushmore is the man himself, Frankenstein's monster.
My boy.
Yeah.
Tell me why you love this boy.
Is there any monster more immediately iconic than Frankenstein?
Probably not, no.
Yes,
I think
there is.
I don't think there's any image. I think there are monsters that are. There's probably a monster that can beat him in any individual category, except maybe iconic. I don't know who could beat him there.
I think
Potentially
there's plenty that could
Dracula,
beat
but, like,
could beat
I,
him in the
I
iconic.
think I think for well
What about
I-
Bigfoot?
But if you think globally, not everybody's got a Bigfoot.
What about
not
the Yeti?
everybody's got- That's the same thing as a Bigfoot, but
That's
less popular.
Cold Bigfoot.
Cold Bigfoot, refrigerated Bigfoot.
Yeah,
Freshly
that's all the
refrigerated
Yeti is.
Yeah. No. Yeah. So he's arguably the most iconic monster there is.
I think if you see, like, if you're going to draw little icons of scary things, you draw what? A bat, a jack-o'-lantern, a witch, a Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I definitely see what you mean in terms of, like, it's the character's sort of, like, versatility in terms of media, in the sense of, like, you could take the novel today and you could make a really fucking scary movie
Oh,
out of it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And you could also make a really fucking funny movie out of it. I mean, Young Frankenstein is a thing for a reason, you know,
Or you could also make Aaron Eckhart's I, Frankenstein.
which is not what you should make.
How spooky do we think, like, how genuinely scary is it? You're walking down a dark alley, you see Frankenstein. On a scale of 1 to 5, how scared are you?
Now, here's where a question comes in. Because are we talking about these monsters at their best or at their most, like...
What you
'Cause that's
associate
the thing.
Frankenstein with, I would say. Because he's in so many things that I would say whatever
so
is, like,
many-
the
yeah.
mental
I think-
association.
I think if you took, like, original, like, Universal Frankenstein, like the first Frankenstein movie or Bride of Frankenstein, Boris Karloff in the makeup, I think that's a genuinely chilling figure.
It's
to see.
upsetting. I would say he's more existentially terrifying than he is physically terrifying.
Yeah,
I
I'd
agree
agree
with
with
that.
that.
So on spookability, I would think that Frankenstein sits comfortably at about a 3 out of 5.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair.
I-
I think... Because I think
A 3, maybe a 2.5, because
I personally, here's my opinion, in case anyone wants to hear it. I, on spookability, put him at a 1. At a 1 out of
1?
5
Insane.
because hear me out, because I feel like we'll give him 1.5. I feel like it's really difficult to take the character out, put them in a vacuum, and it's really difficult for me to think about on its own with no associations, no parodies that I've seen since, no anything, it's difficult to do that and say, would this thing be scary? You know? And now I think we have to, it's hard with a character like Frankenstein's monster because there's so many different iterations. And like if you said, what's the spookability of the way that the creature, the monster is described in the book? And I'd be like, well, fucking terrifying. Like one of the most horrifying things in the world.
That's a 5.
You know? But if we're talking about a Mount Rushmore, the one I think we have to be judging is the one that everybody knows, which is the green with the slick black hair and the fucking bolts in the neck, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that for me isn't a scary image.
I'd
I mean,
say
maybe
a
if I saw him
is
chilling in my
comfortable for the iconic versions of.
Yeah, I guess if we're saying the version, like, just for us, like when we think of the monster, how scary is it? I mean, for me, all of my nominations would probably be a 0,
But, like, if
because
you
they're
see
all
him
like
in
my
the
extended
street,
family.
He is big. I mean, let's think about this. He is big, which is scary.
Big boy,
is big.
He is strong, which is scary.
strong boy.
And he's got a lot of stitches, which is kind of scary.
He's been
But
in
I
an
mean, he could have
accident.
just had a surgery.
If you don't like the hospital, like stitches, that's
Yeah.
freaky.
Well, I think
So
what
I
I think
think
is,
a 1.5 is fine. He's still
What I-
just a
yeah.
guy.
and I will say, and I'll take that because I mean it would be, if we're just talking about how scary it is to me, it would be a 0. But I think that the thing that makes him scary as a character, like before he became like this whole icon, is the unpredictability of him.
Yeah.
Like the fact that he is a child in this incredibly strong, scary body, and that depending on the sensory input that's coming to him, he could either be harmless or accidentally kill a child.
Yeah,
or
I mean,
blow
it's like
and
having
you
a
know,
baby with the strength of Superman.
yeah, and like seeing him turn from like, I think one of the most chilling scenes in anything is this scene where he is throwing the daisies into the water with the little girl, and then you can see him make the connection of like, oh, well, we're having fun, so if I throw her in, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
And that, like, I think that's what's scary about Frankenstein. It's less how imposing he is. But just looking
Well, we'll
at the
talk
monster
about
on its
that
own,
with lethality.
yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah,
Iconicness, I think he's a 5.
that's a 5.
Oh, 5
yeah.
out of 5. Yeah. There's no discussion to be had.
Nope.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at that man, you know who it is.
Yeah.
Bullyability. I can bully this man all day.
I mean,
Oh,
his
all
whole
day,
life
all
is
day.
basically just being bullied. Like,
He bullies himself. He bullies
So
himself.
here's my question. On the bullyability scale, are we talking about numbers that will subtract from the final score because you can bully him?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So would he be a
And on a
negative
bully-
5 on the
okay,
bully
but
scale?
okay. Now, I just want to take issue with the bully scale a little bit because are we grading them as gladiators or like, because I feel like you need a certain amount of bullyability to be an effective monster. Like if you're pure,
You need 270 to win. You need 270 electoral votes to win.
like if you're, but if what I'm saying is like if you're purely unstoppable, I don't think that's a very interesting monster. So you need
Not very
some amount
interesting,
of
but very
bullyability.
terrifying.
We're not talking
it,
about
though?
stoppable, Brian. We're talking about bullyability. How easy is it to call this person a little bitch? Like,
Yeah,
it's
it's
pretty
like,
easy.
talking about.
It's
Frankenstein
pretty
could
easy.
easily kill me, but if I'm laughing while I die, I think I win.
I guess that's
and also,
fair.
I mean, like, if you're calling Frankenstein a little bitch, he's like, I know. He's like, I know I suck. I know.
So let's give
He
him
also-
a negative 4 or a negative 5.
I give him a 4. I do it a 4.
Okay.
Yeah. You know what? The bit when he's getting, you know how he's getting bullied for the entirety of Bride of Frankenstein?
Yes.
Yeah.
But then at the end, he's like, fuck this shit, and he just blows everybody up. I think that
Yes.
brings him down to like a 3.5 on
It's
the
like
bully
there's
scale.
a point of no return where if you keep bullying him, he gets stronger.
Yeah.
Yes. But a solid 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5.
And finally, lethality.
I would say it's incredibly easy for him physically, but he doesn't get there immediately.
I mean, he's slow,
Like,
but he's incredibly strong. So I would say probably
I also
like
don't
a
think
4.
Well, his first impulse also isn't to kill
Yeah.
you. Like
Right,
his
I was
first
gonna say,
impulse.
I don't
Probably
think he
brings him to a
necessarily
3.
wants.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think he necessarily wants to kill you. That's not.
I think if you can be effectively outsmarted for like an hour by Abbott and Costello,
Yeah.
I think it's a pretty low level on the lethality.
So what
Again,
are we
though, we're
thinking?
getting into a different discussion of which Frankenstein are we talking about?
Yeah,
are we talking
it's
about
true.
the
It's hard.
fucking like?
But
But
I
I
think
would
all
say
Frankensteins are a little baby brain.
Yeah, in general, it's very easy to outsmart him, and it's very easy to outrun him. So I'd give him like a 3 or a 2.5 maybe.
But are all baby brains Frankensteins?
Not all. Not all. We can't
so
say the
angry.
phrase. We can't say the phrase squares and rectangles in literally every episode of this podcast. That's illegal.
Where does the rhombus come in? Is my question.
All right, is that the last? Is that the last rating for Frankenstein?
Are we 2.5 or a 3? On
Probably
lethality.
Probably
I give him a 3.
Yeah, all right. Let's say
Definitely.
3. Let's say 3.
He is incredibly strong. He did throw the Wolfman.
Yeah,
did-
He
he
tossed
did-
him.
Throw the fuck out of the wolf.
All right.
Okay. My first nomination is the man himself, Michael Myers. And I'm not talking about the Shrek Michael Myers. I'm talking about the
Why
Halloween
not?
Michael Myers.
Why aren't you talking about the Shrek one?
You have to talk about Michael Myers also.
Shrek's lethality is higher than Frankenstein's, guaranteed.
Oh, absolutely. I pitch Michael Myers because of Halloween's effect on the genre. And there's one of my other ones that I'm going to talk about later is sort of a precursor to Michael Myers even. But I don't think you get where we are in horror without a character like Michael Myers. Because with something like Halloween, you now officially have a genre of horror that it didn't really exist beforehand. You have, this is where Friday the 13th comes from. This is where A Nightmare on Elm Street comes from. This is where the litany of
Big baddie slasher flicks.
of big baddie slashers and of holiday themed horror movies. You know, we don't get Silent Night, Deadly Night if it's not for Halloween.
We
And
don't
if-
get
honestly,
Krampus.
we don't get Krampus. But to take that even a step back, we wouldn't even get Halloween if it wasn't for Black Christmas. But that's a whole other
Yeah.
Yeah.
thing. But yeah, I mean that's my pitch. And then on like an iconography level, I mean there is something that is chilling about the unpainted William Shatner mask.
It's true.
You know,
Well, and also
yeah.
like the unknowable mental state that he has.
Yeah,
Like he's a
for
grown
sure.
man who's kind of unkillable, which we'll get into here in a second, but like
Yeah.
he's also just genuinely unpredictable and unknowable in a way that is not fun.
And I think he's both scary on a surface level of like if you were walking around your apartment complex and you
That
saw
man
Michael
was
Myers,
stomping towards you.
that would be terrifying. But also on an existential level, you have this. I mean, in the first film, he's credited as the Shape because he's just this force of nature that is unkillable
Yep.
and is doing these awful, violent things for no apparent reason, and that's horrifying. You know.
Spookiness. I will tell you right now that even seeing kids dressed up as Michael Myers sometimes freaks me out.
Really?
It's the eyes.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
the eyes, and it's also just like the posture of it kind of makes me upset, of just like the silent figure that walks very stiffly but is also a murderer.
Yeah.
Or like is standing halfway behind a bush. The image that always gets me, that I give him I think I'd give him probably a 4.5 out of 5 on spookability. The image that always gets me is Jamie Lee Curtis, and she's like leaning up against a wall, and there's this big black shadow into a closet behind her, and then his face just like comes out of the closet, and it is like,
Yeah.
it is one of the most, gosh, it's the
I'd
best
give
image
him
in the whole
closer
movie.
to a 3, I think,
I
just
would
because
also.
he's still a guy in a mask.
I think I've never been especially scared of Michael Myers, like design wise, but I think that it is you have no idea what's
It's the
going
energy
on
of
behind
him
his
that's
eyes.
upsetting.
And also the fact that like there's the feeling that there's really nothing you can do
Yeah.
Yeah.
like to stop him.
unstoppable.
I think that gives him closer to a 3 for me too.
Iconicness,
Probably what did we give Frankenstein, a 5?
a 5.
Is probably a Well,
I'd give him
well,
like a 3.5.
yeah, I would
Because-
do
Really?
that too.
I'd give him a 4, personally.
I think
I
for
was gonna
people
say
that-
4.
The thing for me is that people who don't watch horror movies know Frankenstein. People who don't watch horror movies don't know Michael Myers. Bullyability. I feel like he wouldn't listen.
0.
Yeah.
0.
You can't
You
bully.
cannot
He
bully
can't be
this
bullied.
man.
He's
He's
impervious.
unbullyable.
Jason Voorhees, you can bully the fuck out of Jason
Yeah.
Voorhees. But Michael, I don't even know if Michael Myers speaks English because he just
Probably
doesn't
not.
seem to understand anything.
Lethality. I mean,
Can't kill him.
the thing is, like, he's not gonna kill you immediately, but he's gonna follow you for a real long time.
And also, like, with Frankenstein, he's not going to kill you immediately because he's slow. With
Yeah.
with
Right.
Michael Myers, he could kill you whenever he wanted. And
Yes.
even after you run, he can do that.
Right.
He does that slasher teleport thing,
He's
which
also
I think
kind
is
of like
lazy, but it's a thing you
unstoppable
can do.
in his pursuit. Like there's nothing you can do that'll stop him because he's so strong.
He's strong and he's deceptively fast.
Yeah, I'd give him a 4.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right, I bring to you, lads, the xenomorph from Alien.
10 out of 10. 5 out of 5 on all scales.
Here's my pitch for the xenomorph. First of all, it was the first scary movie I ever watched.
Yeah.
And I saw it in main theater at UNCSA, which is one
Same.
of the biggest screens that exists, and it's really fun. I was a horror movie weenie, and this movie had me doing the thing where I sit in a ball and I kick my feet back and forth because I'm nervous.
Yeah.
I've been kicked
I think-
by you in this position.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I think the stalkingness of the xenomorph and like not knowing where it is and then seeing that little drip is like terrifying, and like the isolation of space is terrifying in that movie.
Yeah.
And like being stuck out there with this thing.
Alien is in my top. That is in my top 4 movies. And when I was putting together my list earlier,
it's so
for some
good.
reason, I didn't think about the xenomorph first, and I don't understand why.
It's
but
a
I think there's
fantastic movie monster, and it's also a great video game monster.
Yeah,
Alien
yeah.
Isolation is an incredible
it's
game.
a great game. Yeah. I think it's Ridley Scott's best movie, like by far. I think it's visually just out of this world.
It's wild that monster has become so ubiquitous, but yet when you watch that first movie, it's still terrifying.
It makes me want to throw up.
Like the xenomorph has not at all had its scariness hurt
Yeah.
by like being everywhere.
So let's discuss, how spooky is it?
Oh,
It's like a 5, right?
Yeah, I mean,
it's
like, if
genuinely
you saw
horrifying.
that shit in person, the design of that monster is so scary.
Though,
you look at it. You look at the xenomorph, and you're like, the man that designed this was a fucking pervert. Like,
though,
he is
let
a
me-
Johnny Alucard out of Johnny Alucard on the pervert scale.
to play devil's advocate here. I think a lot of how scary the xenomorph is dependent on its environment.
Yes, and I
think
will
that
say,
it works so well on the Nostromo because it can be in the background
Yes.
for an entire shot and you don't notice it until it moves.
Yeah.
But I think if you put that thing in like the middle of a public pool, like I don't know
Which
that like
basically
if you
is
put-
all of Alien Covenant.
But
All
also,
of Alien Covenant is
if you
like,
put any
Exactly.
movie monster in a public pool, that's gonna be kind of funny.
that's a fair point.
okay, side note, what movie monster would be scary in a public pool? I say
creature-
Pennywise.
No, it would still be kind of funny.
He'd lean into it though. He'd have the floaties.
Yeah,
and like
it'd
the,
be kind
you're
of
right.
have a-
You're right.
he'd
You
I
have
gotta
would
a-
be
say
cute.
like the thing
He'd have a
from
duck
It
thing around him.
Follows, because like you would know that like it's
That's true.
following you and it's like not safe. But
Ooh, it's just walking through the water.
yeah,
Yeah,
You're like,
I
is
had-
that Jesus? No, it's killing me.
I had the thought of Creature from the Black Lagoon, but then I imagined the Creature of the
It's
Black Lagoon
so
swimming
funny.
laps, and that's hilarious.
What about Jaws?
Yeah, okay.
Still funny.
Yeah. I mean, that's just a shark.
it looks like a
but-
Muppet.
We also have to reference. I mean, it's not full grown xenomorph, but we have to reference the chest burster scene. And the chest burster scene. If you don't see like the very end of it, is just horrifying. Like one of the
it's-
most awful things to imagine happening to yourself.
It's so
Is
happening to yourself.
Is it true that a lot of the actors in that scene didn't know what was about to happen?
Yes.
None of them knew. None of them knew
Yeah.
except for John Hurt. Yeah, they didn't know that blood was about to get splattered on them, which is
Yeah.
honestly not cool at all. but,
Makes
like,
me
No,
want
it's
to
not
throw
great.
up.
my mom saw it in theaters, and I believe she ran out of the theater when it popped out of his chest.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Also, we can't go without mentioning like that the other stage of its existence that we haven't mentioned yet, the face hugger.
The face hugger.
Which
I actually
mean,
think the face hugger is the scariest part of the whole
I think
thing.
so too. I
The
think
thought of it going down your throat is the
Oh,
worst.
God.
That's the thing for me too. It's the throat.
Yeah.
I can't deal with the throat. I can't
and I
do
think
that.
the fact that it's so fast and it could
Yes.
be literally anywhere. Like the scariest parts of Alien for me are when they're searching for the face hugger.
Yeah, I mean, like, if it was a thing that just, like, grabbed onto your face, that'd be one thing, but it grabbing your face and then entering your body is
Yeah.
the worst.
Ugh.
That I mean, we're talking about aliens, but the scene of Newt and
Yeah.
Ripley and stuck in
Yeah.
that like medical room with the face hugger is. I mean, that's the best scene. In
I
that
haven't
movie,
seen
in my
Aliens.
opinion.
Yeah. When it's under the... You haven't
Oh,
seen
you gotta
Aliens?
see it.
No, I haven't.
Oh my god.
It's
You gotta.
totally different. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
it's an action
Yeah,
movie
I've heard
versus
it's
a
more of
horror
an action
movie,
movie.
But also,
Yeah.
I think it's worth mentioning that monster is versatile enough to work really well as an action movie villain, too.
but yeah.
Iconicness of Mr. Alien.
That's hard.
Yeah.
That's really hard.
I give it
It's
probably
either-
a 3. Because
Yeah.
there is, like, its ability to transition between movie and video game and, you know, spooky movie, action movie, and you sort of know what it looks like, but it's not a design that I think is ingrained into people's brains because it's not simple.
I mean, I don't know. People have it on a lot of T-shirts
That's
and a
true.
lot of merch that are
Yeah.
like that I've seen like in the wild in general. And like it's one of those monsters that's like always got a giant statue of it in the window of like a comic store or whatever.
Yeah.
I think if we gave Michael Myers what a
A
3
3.5.
a 3.5, I think it's definitely got to be higher than that. I think
Oh, really?
I think
interesting.
I think at least a 3.5, maybe because I think the Alien is a lot more ubiquitous than Michael Myers.
I'll tie it
Interesting.
with Michael Myers because
Yeah.
here's the thing, is that there is sort of the argument that Halloween's more of a straight horror movie while Alien is terrifying, people see it as more of a sci-fi thriller.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it has a different audience, arguably a wider audience.
yeah.
Yeah.
So there is that it has a bigger...
I think Alien is a scarier movie.
Oh, absolutely.
I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah.
but I think in
I agree
general
with that.
horror sense, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that because it's immediately recognizable to any sci-fi fan anywhere,
We'll give it a
I
4.
think adds to its notoriety. Yeah.
We'll give it a 4.
Yeah.
Do y'all think there's a question? I am sitting here thinking about the xenomorph, and I feel like there are parallels that can be made between the xenomorph and Michael Myers.
Yeah. Well, they're both unknowable personalities.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, they're
And-
unknowable and unstoppable as
Yeah,
well.
Yeah.
unstoppably strong
Yeah.
and persistent.
like-
but the
I
thing
d-
is, like,
Yeah.
Michael Myers is a human hunter, but this thing feels like it was bred to be a hunter. Mm-hmm. And lethality, how do we feel?
Fucking 6 out of 5. That thing will kill you so
Yeah.
fast.
Five out of five
Give it a
right,
5.
right there.
All right.
Okay, so my second monster is an obvious second monster from my first monster, the Count Dracula.
Yours is just gonna be the fucking Hammer horror movie.
I knew.
Hey.
That's why
not
I didn't
Hammer,
pick any.
Not Hammer.
Universal.
I
Universal.
think personally, I think they're all weaker in Hammer, but that's my own opinion.
Well, hammers are just fun to
You're
watch
probably
because
right,
they're
though. I
stupid.
mean, we
Yeah.
did watch Dracula AD 1970. That is a movie that was made.
Well, and I think that the reason that I didn't put any Universal monsters on mine is because I knew specifically Brian would be all
Yeah.
four
I knew Brian
of the big
same.
ones.
Yeah, it's
Same.
I don't think there's any spoilers in the fact that all 4 of mine are Universal monsters. These are my extended family, okay? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
They're-
He's about to see them for Thanksgiving. Well, not
Uncle
this year,
Drac.
but you would typically
That's-
see them for
He's
Thanksgiving.
gonna zoom with Uncle Drac.
So what is there to say about Count Dracula? I mean, he's the I think iconic literary monster. I think it defined an entire subsection of monsters that are a lot of people's like it created a genre of monster so pervasive and so huge that it created a massive fandom just for that. Like it's like a massive fan. It's like I only care about vampire stuff.
Yeah, true.
And Dracula is the first vampire. I think that he works in so many different contexts. I think that he works as an action villain. He works as a horror villain. He works as a weird anti-hero kind of thing.
He works as a Scooby-Doo.
He works as a Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, he does.
he works as a monster authority figure. Like he works in all of these different contexts and all of these different roles. Adam Sandler can play him, and it somehow doesn't destroy him as a character.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like
it still works.
like
That is saying something.
yeah. Like I think that personally, I think that Dracula is even more effective in that regard than Frankenstein's monster. Because I think that Dracula, like what Nolan was saying before, where when you think of Frankenstein, like it's hard to divorce him from the parodies and the lovable
But I think
Frankenstein
Dracula
monster
sort of
archetype.
transcends
I think
that.
you can.
Yeah.
I think you can absolutely separate Dracula.
I mean, even
from-
just watching like the Castlevania like animated
Oh,
series
yeah.
like, from a couple years ago,
That
like
stuff's good.
yeah, and, like he just works.
Yeah.
He just works.
Spookiness. 1 to 5.
And that's another thing, is that when he's done right, it's a 5. When he's not, obviously, it's
I
not.
would say
But
he's
it's-
hovering around a 2.5 to 3 for me, just because on the same criteria that he's still just a guy.
I think it's less...
He's a guy that can turn into a bat in some universes. He's a guy that
he's
can suck
got-
my blood, but he's still just a dude.
I guess it depends.
you can kill him
because
in a car accident.
Yes, you
you
can
can
kill him in a car accident.
We have learned that. In a shower.
Yes.
shower.
But I think the thing about Dracula is that even no matter how hard you kill him, like canonically,
He always comes back.
is never fully dead.
Yeah.
he can
That's
never
true.
be fully killed. And I think the thing that's really scary about him when he's done well, and like in the original book and stuff, is that just being around him creates this kind of mental effect on
Yeah,
you
the
where you
hypnosis.
don't want to hurt him. Like you want what he wants, and that's terrifying. So I think that makes him harder to
We'll give him a 3.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
fair. I think
On
that
par with
weighs-
Michael Myers.
Yeah, I think that weighs the goofier adaptations of Dracula.
Well, and also the fact
Right.
that, like, Alien's a 5 because it's a literal, terrifying, gigantic monster, and Dracula's
With a
a
penis
3
for a
because
head.
he's still just a dude. He's a scary
because
dude.
he's an old Hungarian.
Yes.
Man. Yeah.
He's, just foreign.
Yeah. Iconicness is also a 5. It's Dracula.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah,
Nobody
that's true.
doesn't know who Dracula is.
Bullyability. Ooh, I could bully
That's
Dracula.
fun.
You could bully the fuck out of
Yeah,
Dracula. You could.
He's a
get
vain man.
Yeah, he cares
you
what you
could-
think about him is the problem.
He does. You could also like a too much garlic on a pizza, gonna get him down.
That's gonna
wrong,
get him.
Wrong time of day. Set his alarm clock. He's
Right.
burning up.
Yeah.
I'd say
You try
he's
to
a
take him
negative
out for
4
a
on
picnic.
bullyability. I think he's even more
You could-
bullyable than Frankenstein.
I think that
agree.
any monster that you could feasibly kill with a super soaker has
Yes,
to take some
absolutely.
dives.
The fact that if I told him that I thought he was ugly, he would probably get sad about it. Like if I went up to Dracula and I said, "You're one of the ugliest men I've ever seen in my life," he would be so upset.
Any monster that employs Johnny Alucard, like, gives him
It's
a fucking
true.
salary for the year, like, is very bullyable.
Dracula's also.
So
doesn't
is he a
like-
negative 4 or negative 5?
No, not that high. Like
I think a
but-
negative 4
but-
is where he should sit.
Yeah, and he does like doesn't the book like the way that he draws Renfield in and all that stuff. Not Renfield, sorry, Harker. When he's literally committing like a tax scheme
Yes.
to get this like house, and like it's just funny to me that the Prince of Darkness did have to fill out like several different
He's
kinds of
just
paperwork
Get a fucking
Dude.
W-9.
and like postmarket and like I mean not great.
Probably thought
Not
about
great for him.
developing an LLC or something.
He's trying to fucking send his taxes in, but he can't because the post office is only open from 10 to 5, and he's got to be
That's true, yeah.
asleep about then. So
So we'll put him at a negative 4 for bullyability because
Yeah, I could bully Dracula definitely.
lethality.
And this again depends on the version because
Yeah.
you can go all the way from it's whatever the vampire rules are that you happen to be
I think
working
he's
with.
generally very not lethal, except for the part where he does the hypnosis shit, where it like draws you in. Because if that wasn't a factor, I could just kick him in the nuts and run away. Like it's
Well,
not that big a deal.
I would say, and like quote unquote my Dracula.
Hashtag not my Dracula.
Hashtag not my Dracula. I think the version that is kind of the most interesting to me is when he is this very kind of still stoic aristocrat, but he, if he wants to, can kill you before you realize he's moved. Like he can just like slit your throat before you can tell that he's taken a step forward.
He's very
and I think
fast, but I don't think he's
fast,
exceptionally
he's incredibly
strong.
He's supposed to be. He usually is. He's like very strong, very fast. He can he can turn into more stuff than a bat. Like he can turn into a wolf or like a group of things or a mist.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like
mist.
he can a Dracula mist.
Aerosolized Dracula bits.
That's last week.
Can
I
that
was
be the
wearing,
title of the episode?
You know how last episode my cologne was Ghost of Frankenstein?
Yeah, now it's just aerosolized Dracula
This
bits.
week it's aerosolized Dracula.
So lethality, I'd probably give him like a 3.5 or a 4.
Let's say 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll give him 3.
That's fair.
A little bit more lethal than Frankenstein because he's slow.
He does have the potential to create his own army though.
Yes.
Pretty
So
easily.
3.5. Very lethal.
Yeah. That's, I think, and also we should be generous to him on this regard because he is so bullyable, yet he is iconic, and we can't give him any more points on the iconic scale.
Yeah.
So.
I would actually push him to a 4, actually, because I'm thinking about it, and we've given people 3.5 who couldn't literally form an entire army to take over the world.
Yeah.
Like, Dracula's the first monster that we've talked about who has the potential to end the world, I think.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah.
Well, Alien kind of could.
Yeah.
No, he needs more eggs.
He's got
There's
a lot of eggs.
There's a lot of eggs on LV426. There's a lot of eggs.
But I think Dracula on his own, if you popped Dracula anywhere, he could eventually end the world.
Yes, but could he make it that far?
I mean, if his alarm clock went off at the wrong time, I guess.
Right. He's on a tight schedule.
Yeah, all right. I'll settle for 3.5.
What time of year is it? Because if it's the summer, then he's got to really schedule a lot tighter. But if it's now, like if it's December.
Well, also he's gonna have to schedule, like he's gonna have to have his coffin shipped and express shipping, and if it gets dented, then he's gotta fucking get a.
And
new
you
one.
know it's hard to deal with DHL with coffins.
It's
hard.
Oh yeah.
To the stage, I bring Mr. Pennithan Wiseman.
Very good. Very good.
Pennywise for the uneducated from It.
Yeah.
I honestly, at the end of the day, I don't think Pennywise necessarily deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore of monsters.
But you love him.
But I love Pennywise. I love Stephen King, and I feel like he's definitely worth discussion, especially based on the fact that like a lot of people our age, a lot of people a little older than our age, and people that were born in the early 90s, late 80s, will talk about the 1990 HBO miniseries of It, the 2-part series. And talk about how it ignited their fear of clowns. Like clowns became scary because of Tim Curry's iteration of
It
Pennywise.
is the reason why we're afraid of clowns.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, as a society.
That's a whole other discussion because the origin of Pennywise was Stephen King reading about John Wayne Gacy and how John Wayne Gacy dressed up as Pogo the clown and then literally was murdering young boys, and so I mean my pitch for Pennywise is more so that he is iconic and ignited the fear for clowns in an entire generation of people.
Yeah.
So spookiness, I think personally I'd put him at a 4.
Yeah.
Because he scares the shit out of me.
Yeah. Pennywise freaks me out. I mean, though it also depends because I think modern Pennywise is freakier to me.
But here's the thing. Pennywise in general,
I agree.
Nolan can just do the voice and I get really uncomfortable. It really upsets
I
me.
can do the voice. I don't think I should do it on the podcast.
Please don't do it on
I
the
think
podcast
you
because
should
it makes
do
me
it.
please, it makes me really uncomfortable.
I think we're split down the middle. Oh, he's doing the face.
No, I don't like it.
Hiya, Caroline.
Oh, God.
Stop. Yeah, see, I hate it. So it's a 4. It's a 4. It's a 4.
Yeah, it's a 4. It's a 4. It's not a good time.
Iconicness.
That's interesting
Because it's like Pennywise himself, I wouldn't say is incredibly iconic, but scary
clowns are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, let me hit you with this. On the plane to New York a couple days ago, I was watching the animated Addams Family movie, as you
The
do.
goddamn fucking red balloon joke.
The goddamn red balloon joke, which I will say they never mention Pennywise by name, so he's at least that famous.
He did, and also, I mean, like, he did also make red balloons.
Yeah.
Literally just a red balloon. Like, there is an element of like, ugh, now looking at that.
Yeah.
I'd say about a 4.
It's-
I'd put him with Alien.
I agree.
Okay, yeah.
Bullyability.
Fucking 5 out of 5. Like,
You
Negative
literally
5.
defeat
that is
Pennywise
how
by
you-
By
bullying
bullying
him.
yes.
That is how you're supposed to kill this monster.
yeah.
Now here's my question.
Yeah.
Lethality. What's his body count? Because I feel like he hasn't actually killed that many people.
Well, it's very rare that he.
I feel like he's
Yeah.
more of a terror.
Well, it's very rare that he fails to kill someone.
That's true.
If he's zeroed in on
If
someone,
he actually
but it's
wants
almost,
to kill somebody.
but it's almost always a child.
Yeah.
There's a little bit
And
of it is pretty much always a child. And
Yeah.
there's a little
Except
bit
when
of
it's people he's still tormenting as adults.
there's a little bit of cognitive dissonance that I think you have to do when you read it or when you watch it, because you're supposed to believe that this entity has like been alive for millions of years and has been killing children for
Yeah.
millions of years, but then suddenly this fucking group of 7 kids, like, he just can't fucking kill them. You can't kill these fucking 7
I think
idiots.
like the lore
he
around
dicks
him,
around too much.
like
He does dick around too much.
yes,
Yeah,
and
he-
that the
but
lore
that's,
surrounding him paints him as more lethal than we see him actually be in the books and in the movies.
But he's never like failed up until the time period of the books and the movies.
Yes.
Like he's
I think it's interesting. I think it's just a great horror concept that you introduce a character who potentially has basically unlimited power to kill anyone in an instant, but he can't because the way that he
His hubris.
is the way that he feeds is getting fear out of people.
Yeah.
So
Right,
like he
that's
has
what-
to keep it going long enough to get the fear that he needs.
That's what
to
makes
kill
his
you. I think
bullyability
that's great.
So
super
high.
interesting also is because
Yeah.
it's not that like he's not actually getting any more sustenance out of scaring the kids. He's enjoying scaring the kids, and it makes them taste better to him.
Yeah.
But he's not actually gaining
He's
anything
seasoning them.
okay.
other than he's
Okay.
literally he's like witching them. You know?
I feel like knowing what I know, if a Penathan wise man came to me and was like, "Oh wait, Nolan, did say that? Do the voice, please."
Hiya, Brian.
Bam! Tire iron to the back of the head. He's dead. Like I think it's. I
That really
think,
hurt, Brian.
like I think that limits his fear level to me because I do know that I could beat him up if I just like wasn't scared.
But also,
about it.
beating him up like doesn't really
Doesn't
hurt
really
him. What
do
hurts
much.
him is bullying him and not believing that he has power
Exactly.
over you.
So I could bully him.
So I give him a 3.
Yeah, three.
Okay. I mean, well, and also something we should mention, technically, if we're talking about Pennywise and you really go into the lore, Pennywise, the entity, is actually a woman.
Fascinating.
Really?
But has chosen to has taken the form of this male clown.
Men are scarier.
Huh? I didn't know that. Penathan wise woman.
Penathan, wise woman.
You guys ready for my next one?
Yeah.
So I bring to the table stage Brundlefly from The Fly.
I hate that.
Yeah, me too. That's why I brought
hate
it.
him. I hate him so much.
Okay, here's my Brundlefly pitch.
Yeah.
Body horror nightmare.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Truly upsetting. But like has this painful sense of humanity in him. Like Jeff Goldblum's performance of being able to be like, I am a monster and this thing is taking over my brain, but also like have these moments of clarity and be like, I don't want to murder and be a bad person.
Yeah.
And like the
think
craze
on
that
a-
it sends him in the beginning of the movie is terrifying.
I
And
think
also
if-
Jeff Goldblum is
Yeah.
that's the end of my pitch.
Also, this is the first time that we've talked about Jeff Goldblum on this podcast, so I feel we should have some form of round of applause.
I love Jeff Goldblum.
Woo! Jeff. Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
I
Well,
love
I
him
don't know.
so dearly. But yeah, so terrifying and fascinating in terms of watching. Like the whole movie isn't necessarily about this monster coming to kill you. It's about like this man being overtaken cell by cell
Yeah.
by a monster, which is really upsetting and really scary.
Right. And this is also like that we're gonna sort of be exclusive to the '86 version rather than the 1950s version.
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
think.
Yeah.
'Cause
I'm
the
talking
50s
Brundlefly.
version-
I'm talking
the 50s version
Jeff
is goofy
Goldblum.
as fuck.
No.
Like,
Yeah, I mean, every stage of that transformation is a different kind of horrible. Like when he's pulling his like fingernails off
And his
you just-
ear in the cabinet. and
Oh
all that.
God, Jesus!
You know,
I don't want to talk about him anymore. Let's
So
rate
let's
him.
go through this pretty quick. Scariness.
Is it
I think the whole way through it's a 5 for me.
Is it?
because
And I guess we're including scary as with disgust.
yes.
Because I'm not really scared of him as much as I'm disgusted by him.
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm more
I
disgusted.
mean, I think
but
that counts.
I think
Because he's
if we're
so
talking,
upsetting.
I think if we're talking on like an existential level, this is the scariest movie that we're going to talk about tonight.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
true. That's true. Okay.
So I'd put him at a solid 5.
yeah, that's a solid 5.
Iconicness.
I'd only give him like a 1
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a 2 at the most.
because
I'd say a 1. The
Yeah.
only thing that gives him any iconicness is Jeff Goldblum.
right.
Do we?
But
yeah.
the
I-
That's like the
monster
Grandmaster
itself-
from Thor, you know.
yeah.
Yeah, like the monster itself, I don't think has a design that a lot of people are like, oh yeah, Brundlefly.
If you
Horror-
showed
horror
if you
nerds do,
if you
but-
showed an
Yes.
image of it, let's say 2 because any horror nerd's gonna know who it is, but anyone outside
true.
of that's not. So we could go with
Yeah.
a 2.
Okay, bullyability.
I think it's pretty easy to bully him because almost every character in the movie does successfully.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
doesn't-
yeah.
It doesn't affect him as much as like a Pennywise or a Dracula would, but
You
I
can't
still
kill
think,
him with bullying.
Yes,
But you but,
but
you
I think
can.
he's still at a solid like -3.
Yeah, that's fair.
And lethality. I mean,
It depends
that's
on the
interesting.
stage. He's
Yeah.
not
I would say
especially
like peak Brundlefly,
So when we say peak
Brundlefly.
Brundle, because I think he gets
where he's
less
the
effective.
strongest and the most aggressive, which is like 75% of the way into the movie,
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he hits a peak and then becomes less effective
and then becomes
as he
less and
goes
less.
on.
Yeah.
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 But at his most lethal, where he's busting through walls and picking up people and jumping over buildings,
Yeah.
I'd say he's similar to a Dracula.
Oh,
I'd
I
say
would
he's lower
less
than that.
Dracula.
Yeah, definitely
I would say
less
he's
than
less than
Dracula.
Dracula. Yeah.
Because
So-
he can't
so
he
more
can't
like
turn
a-
into a fine mist.
I
Yeah,
think there is a
true.
level with which for Seth Brundle to be like completely effective, that his victim has to be a little bit of incompetence on the
Yeah.
the part of the victim.
I would say on a scale of monsters, just
He's
pure
probably like a
lethality
2.
is like a 2. Yeah, because I there's never a point in his existence where I don't feel like he's very killable.
Yeah. But yeah, I just had to bring. I know he wouldn't probably be like our top pick, but I just had to bring him up because he's one of my least favorite and favorite monsters.
It's
He's
one of the most
my favorites
horrifying.
because he's one of my least favorites.
Yes, the practical effects in that movie are just
They're
incredible.
great.
I
They're
think
really,
the
really
big
good.
lesson from this conversation in general is practical effects are so important. Like
And they're
really
so
good
cool.
really good makeup is so important.
Yes.
And like digital effects can be amazing, but I think you have to mix them with things that are real. I mean,
And
Yeah, absolutely.
speaking of amazing makeup and practical effects, we talked about him last time we talked, the Wolfman.
Wolfman.
Now, the Wolfman, I think, is really interesting because he is iconic to the level. I don't think he doesn't have the source material that Dracula and Frankenstein do. The Wolfman was a creation of Universal Studios when they made the first Wolfman movie. So I think it's really crazy and like kind of impressive that the Wolfman is the third corner of the Universal monster trinity.
Yeah.
That is,
I
it's
wouldn't say
Frankenstein,
he's
Dracula, and the
as
Wolfman.
recognizable as Frankenstein and Dracula, but I would,
would
say
agree.
that he is still up
he's
there.
iconic.
And
He's
I
a
think-
close second to them.
I think while Lon Chaney Jr. Like that makeup is iconic, I think it isn't because like the Frankenstein makeup and the Dracula design of Universal Studios became the default. Like that's the Halloween spooky cartoon design that everybody draws.
right.
The Wolfman didn't. The
Yeah.
Wolfman changes every time we see him, where he's like more wolfy, or he's changes
more Seth
color,
Rogen-y,
or
he's
he's more or less further or closer to the man himself, Seth Rogen. And I think that might be a strike against the Wolfman, is that there isn't really one
He's
design.
not as recognizable.
Yeah, there isn't one design that you go, that's the Wolfman, as opposed to that's a werewolf.
I wonder
Yeah.
if it's
There's not a
because-
design that you would put on a mask.
I wonder if it's because werewolves predated the
Yeah.
Wolfman specifically.
Because
You
like
know?
the specific lore of the Wolfman and like the Wolfman is a creation of Universal, but obviously werewolves were a thing forever. So
Right.
I think that is he is the kind of figurehead of the werewolf genre, but he's not the originator of it, and he's not
the chairperson.
Really,
you know?
Yeah, he's the chairman. He's not really there isn't a specific design that really
He
nails
owns a
down for him.
plurality of the stocks.
Yeah. So let's
talk
rate him.
Wolfman. Let's talk. How scary is he?
Let's talk Wolfman. Let's get a little wolf talk.
Can I say?
I don't think he's as scary as Frankenstein or Dracula.
I don't think so either.
Which is interesting because he's probably more like immediately violently lethal.
Yes,
than
he's
you.
definitely more dangerous, but I'm less scared of him.
Yeah, I think that's why. I think because he's a wolf. He's an animal. Like you know what the rules of engagement are with an animal.
So if we put Frankenstein at a 1.5, I'd put him at like a 1.
Agreed.
In terms
And
of
I
speaking.
think like the Del Toro movie, the Benicio del Toro movie is not great. It could have been really good.
It should have
but it's
been really
not.
good.
It should have been so
But
good.
one scene that I really like is the scene where all of the doctors in the theater are watching him transform.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that scene because it's showing like I think that's what's scary about the Wolfman is that you can prep as much as you want and
But
like
this
you can
thing's still gonna
design this
happen.
whole thing around it, but it's still gonna be a little bit more than you were prepared for. And I think that's what's cool about it.
Do
But
y'all
I
think
agree.
the mythology of werewolves like came about as an allegory for dudes who get really horny like every once in a while?
Well, isn't there even that line in Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein where Talbot's like, "You don't understand. When the moon rises, I'll turn into a wolf," and then Costello's like, "Yeah, you and 20 million other guys."
Oh my god. Oh no.
So I think so. I think that is
That
very
hurts.
possible. Yeah.
My mom listens to this podcast.
I'm sorry, Carol's mom.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm refusing to comment based on that fact.
I promise I'm a good person. I promise. I'm a good boy.
How iconic is Wolfman?
Very.
Yeah,
I would
I'd
put
say
him
he's
at probably like a 4.
yeah 4 because I think he takes a point hit because there isn't one design that you go hell yeah, Wolfman.
But if somebody's
Yeah.
like the Wolfman, you're like,
Everybody
oh, yeah,
knows.
guy who turns into a wolf. Okay, here's the thing with bullyability that I'm thinking about.
yeah,
I feel like if you bullied the Wolfman, he would agree with you.
yeah.
Oh
And
yeah.
that
It's
makes
like-
him kind of unbullyable.
Talbot, you're a
true.
murderer. I know.
I know.
He
I'm a
is-
killer.
He wants
I want to die,
everybody.
please kill me.
He really wants everybody to bully him. His
So
goal is to
I
be
would
bullied.
say he's either a -1 or a 0, because he's still a dude.
Yeah.
I think you give him a 0. I think
Yeah,
I
I'll
think
give
it
him a
like
0.
it really negates. Yeah.
Because he'd
His-
be like,
his-
yeah.
Yeah, his
You're
goal
right.
is to be
Yeah.
bullied.
Piece of shit,
So
like
yeah.
I'm a murderer.
Though, wait.
Yes.
You can bully the werewolf, like the wolf part, pretty hard.
Oh, yeah. You
like
can
you
throw
can
sticks at
mess,
that
you
boy
can
all day.
mess with him pretty good.
'cause
maybe
he's just a-
maybe a 2. Maybe
It's just a glorified dog. Like
I'll give him
Yeah.
a -1.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
Lethality of Mr. Wolf.
very again.
Yeah.
He's a,
Yeah.
He's a killer.
Less than what did we give? What did we give the xenomorph?
Xenomorph, we gave a 5.
Okay, probably like a 3.
Yeah.
We also gave Pennywise a 3. So I'd put
I'd say
Ooh,
3.5.
Yeah, is he more lethal than Pennywise? I don't think so.
Oh.
we gave
He is a
Dracula
dog.
3.5.
That's okay. Let's say more of a 2. Then.
Our scales are so fucked up.
Yeah, the fact that you're
I'm giving Wolfman a 3. Because
okay.
the hops on this man,
Ooh,
He does have
man.
mad hops.
mad
That
hops,
guy-
mad speed, mad parkour.
If we could just train him to dribble a basketball.
I'm
We've
going to give him
also-
a 2.5. Let's call it a happy medium.
By the transitive properties, because we've seen him fight both Frankenstein and Dracula and either win or come to a draw. So
Who
I'm
knows?
shrugging. I realize it's an audio medium.
This is
but
an
I
audio
am
medium.
I'm shrugging deeply.
All right, I'm giving him a 2.5.
Yeah. Null, you're up.
So I bring to the table the demon Pazuzu from The Exorcist,
Wonderful.
and also mythology.
Interesting. So not.
Can you
not
spell
in
that for me
kid
for my
form.
notes?
Pazuzu.
Ah, that's actually
Can I tell
pretty
you?
phonetic.
Can I tell you? Can I tell you the one specific reason why I don't find Pazuzu the least bit scary, and it's not fair? It's because of Futurama. When Professor Farnsworth puts his he puts his gargoyle son through college, and then Pazuzu flies away, and he goes Pazuzu. That's the only reason, and it's not fair.
I will say, I am very new to The Exorcist, and it did upset me deeply.
Yeah.
So, do me a favor.
Yeah.
Give me a little bit, because the thing is, the movie The Exorcist does not give you a lot of information on Pazuzu. I didn't even know it was called Pazuzu, but like...
Okay, so I'll give you a little bit of...
2-sentence rundown.
2-sentence rundown on Pazuzu from mythology. In ancient Mesopotamian religion, Pazuzu was the king of the demons of the wind, brother of Humbaba and son of the god Hanbi. He also represented the southwestern wind, the bearer of storms and drought. Pazuzu is often depicted as a combination of diverse animal and human parts. He has the body of a man, the head of a lion or dog, talons of an eagle, 2 pairs of wings, a scorpion's tail, and serpentine penis. He has his right hand up and left hand down. He brings famine during dry seasons and locusts during rainy seasons. He
Good
sucks.
for him.
Terrifying.
Yeah, he sucks. He's the worst. I bring up Pazuzu on an existential level. In the way that Pazuzu is used in The Exorcist, it is... it's just... I feel like William Friedkin used the demon as a manner with which to like defile like everything. Like
Yes.
the character defiles the girl of Reagan. He defiles Christianity. And I think there's something
upsetting.
that's existentially horrifying about seeing someone literally just like ruined, like a person that is like been dehumanized from the inside out. Like that is like really horrifying. And then on a straight just surface level imagery, the image that they use for Pazuzu as like a representation is to me, like I remember seeing it for the first time being like 12 years old, and it shook me. Like it shook me. Like I remember I was scrolling on Google, like trying, because I hadn't seen the movie yet, and I like looked up Demon from The Exorcist, saw it on
You're
Google
like,
Images,
"Oh,
and
no."
immediately like closed out, like got away from my computer because it freaked me out so much. So
Right.
Yeah.
How spooky.
This is, top, right? Like,
this is about as spooky as it
Yeah.
gets.
like it's viscerally
but
upsetting.
Here's the thing. Is it on par with how upsetting Brundlefly and the alien are?
For me, yes. Like if I was laying in bed and saw that image of Pazuzu like standing in the corner of my room, like
You're right.
I think Brundlefly specifically is an interesting thing to weigh it against, because I think Brundlefly makes me
want to throw up.
more nauseous. Like it makes
Yeah.
me like when I'm looking at it, I think I feel a little bit more of like a get that away from me than
I'm
do
more just
with
like,
The
dude, just go
Exorcist.
take a fucking shower. Like, ugh,
Yeah.
like
I think I might put it like a half step below Brundlefly.
That's what I was feeling. I was feeling a 4.5 for Pazuzu.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Because the only thing is, like,
can deal with
we
that.
don't really see it that much in The Exorcist. It's like we
Also,
know
we're-
that it's inside of Reagan, but like
Yeah, we're including
it's a
all
flash
of the
frame, really.
we're including all of the Reagan stuff
yes,
as that
for
right,
sure.
okay.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Otherwise, you don't really have a whole lot. Of
Yeah, it's just a flash frame.
Iconicness. I mean, holy shit. This
Yeah,
movie.
I mean Reagan in terms
Reagan,
of iconicness.
Yeah, there's the thing, because I didn't know.
I didn't know
remember,
its name was Pazuzu.
Yeah, I didn't remember. I don't usually remember that its name is Pazuzu. I think
they only say
if-
it like once. I think
yeah.
once or twice.
I think
in
if
the
we're
movie.
just going by like, if we're including people who would just call it Reagan or just call it
Yeah.
The
yeah,
Exorcist.
we can call it
like-
Reagan. Yeah,
I'd give it like a 4.
Yeah.
I would say, for me, like Reagan, the image of Reagan turning her head around or crab walking.
Everybody
like,
knows that.
that's like, yeah, I mean,
I'm giving it a 4 because I
Okay.
think that while it is super iconic, I would not say it's on Frankenstein Dracula level.
yeah, I would agree with that.
Bullyability.
Hunt
mean,
to
you
like
can't-
-5 out of 5 because that is what an exorcism is.
Yes.
Like,
That's true.
It's
It is
bullying
bullying
a
a demon
demon.
into leaving.
yeah.
Lethality.
You can't kill a demon. You can defeat a
Incredibly
demon.
lethal.
Yeah, super lethal.
I'd say if we put Alien at a 5, this is like a 4.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also think like killability.
Because you can tie it to a bed. You can't
Yeah.
tie Alien to a bed.
That's
Yeah.
true.
But I mean, it would even if it's tied to a bed, it's still killing
It's-
Reagan.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why it's a 4.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the inverse of that is like, can you kill Pazuzu No. You can defeat Pazuzu.
You can
but you
release
cannot,
Pazuzu.
Yeah.
You cannot kill Pazuzu.
and it takes a lot of effort.
Yeah. Okay. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. These last two that I have are probably not the biggest contenders. I put out my heavy hitters first, but they're ones that are my favorites.
Yeah.
So I bring to you the Pale Man from Pan's Labyrinth.
Okay.
Have you guys seen Pan's Labyrinth? That's my question.
I've seen this monster, but I haven't actually seen Pan's Labyrinth.
He looks like Mitch McConnell.
That's kind of the point. My pitch for the Pale Man is that I think the most exciting thing about the Pale Man, besides his incredible design and incredible performance,
Yeah.
Doug Jones.
is that he is a metaphor in himself and has like a really interesting reason for being in the place that he is being, you know?
Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So the Pale Man, for those of you who don't know, pale man, no eyes, very gross looking skin, has eye sockets in his hands, and the eyes in his hands are removable.
Yeah.
In Pan's Labyrinth, he is in this house that is full of feasting materials that he can never eat.
It's called food.
He eats people, but he has like all this food for everything. And if he's trying to protect this feast from everybody, even though he can never eat it.
Right.
So the metaphor of him is being, it is not a coincidence that he is white and he is a man. It is set in Spain during a revolution, so it's really talking about how, like, the ability to hoard all this wealth and never use it is inherently a villain in itself, which I think is really cool.
Yeah.
That's
that is really great.
And Doug Jones' performance as Pale Man is unbeatable.
Doug Jones deserves a medal for his contributions to horror as a genre.
Yeah. And also Doug Jones, his other character in the movie is also just phenomenally performed
incredible.
too. I think what's like amazing about Pan's Labyrinth, just as a movie to me, is that
I love that movie.
the movies and books that are being written right now, and I think movies and TV shows especially, like they're going to continue to exist for eternity in the same way that books written 400 years ago still exist and are things that we can read. And so I think there is a level with which to the fairy tale of Pan's Labyrinth eventually, to me, I think will be on the same level as any other fairy tale.
Yeah.
I think that's a really interesting point.
Yeah.
I think that almost should have been another metric we were using and I guess iconic falls into that, but it's a different kind of iconic where it's lasting. Like everlasting. Yeah.
All right, so spookiness. I think he's a scary monster design.
I think for me, the Pale Man is just as spooky as Xenomorph. I feel like they're like opposite sides they're similar in some ways, but sort of opposite sides of the same coin.
And he's based off of like a Japanese mythical creature called a tenome.
Yeah.
That's like a blind old man with eyes in his hands, but he took the tenome and made him so gross and so creepy. I think he's a 5.
Yeah.
I agree.
Iconicness.
That's interesting.
I give him like a 3.
Yeah.
'Cause I think to people who have seen him, it is burned into your brain.
And it
But
does.
I think
it does extend beyond people who have seen the movie, like Brian.
Yeah, like the fact that but also I'm in the circles where I would see it.
Yes.
Like I think 3 is the highest I would go because I don't think it's got the worldwide knowledge.
Yeah, I think he's recognizable, but I don't think that he's necessarily a household name like Dracula or anything like that. Bulliability.
Poke his eyes out.
You take his food and he gets mad.
Yeah.
But
is that bullying?
Yeah. Stealing your
It's
lunch.
literally stealing his lunch.
You're right. The Pale Man said, "Give me your lunch money."
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's super bullyable, but
I feel like you take his lunch and he gets pissed off, but like there's like you being like, "Hey, Pale Man, guess what?
fuck you.
I fucked your mom."
He'd be like, okay, I'm gonna eat you now.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to bully someone while they're eating you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
So I'd give him like a -1.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
Because if you steal his food, he will.
He does
get
get
There's a thing he's sensitive about.
Yes.
He has one big
Lethality.
insecurity.
Yeah.
How lethal do you
the
feel like he
Pale
is?
Pretty lethal, because I mean, his whole thing is that he's in a time where children are starving. Like, this is a time in Spain where stone soup was like a thing, where you would just boil rocks for minerals, and that was your food.
Yeah.
And so he had this bounty to like lure the children in, and he ate so many children. Like, there's a pile of kids' clothes and shoes in the back of his lair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd give him like a 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I can deal with that.
Because if you don't cross him, it's not really a big thing. But if you encounter the Pale Man, you are probably going to get eaten.
Okay, so now my last one. I had a hard time deciding on it because for me it's always been the big 3 monsters, Frankenstein, Dracula, the Wolfman, and I didn't really know. Like, all the other Universal monsters are kind of roughly on the same level after that. Creature from the Black Lagoon.
But there's a
Phantom
lot
the
of
Opera,
space
Hunchback.
between
Right,
them.
yeah.
Yeah. And I finally landed on the Bride of
I
Frankenstein.
knew you were going to say that.
And
Yeah,
and
that's
here's
predictable.
And yeah, definitely predictable. But hey, that's a good mark
But
for
hey,
this.
it's Brian Stork. What else are you going to expect?
Yeah, it's. I think it's interesting because while having like 3 minutes of collective screen time in total in general, the Bride of Frankenstein managed to
She
be
rules.
so
does
much
rule.
more iconic. Like, visually, I think she's more iconic than the Wolfman. Like, visually,
Absolutely.
she's
I agree.
Visually, she's probably like the 3rd most iconic monster in existence.
I would agree.
I would say she's just like a half star below Frankenstein on iconicness.
Like, instantly like there's it would be impossible to not recognize what they're doing in like a Halloween costume as soon as you see it.
Oh, absolutely.
It's that damn hair.
She looks like a movie star. She's wonderful.
That's really my pitch. There's not a lot else going
She's
for her,
great.
but
So spookiness. She's not scary.
She's not
not scary. No,
not
she's
scary.
just awesome looking.
0.
1, I don't know. She hisses.
Let's give her a 0.5, yeah.
0.5 for that hiss.
Why not? A solid hiss.
Iconic. I'd give her a 4.5.
I give her a 5. I give her a 5. I think that there's no person who doesn't recognize what that is.
You know what?
That's true.
Brian's
if you
right.
dressed up for this character for Halloween,
Yeah, like
everyone would know who you are.
every character in a sitcom when they're doing a Halloween episode, one of them's dressed as the Bride of Frankenstein.
Bride of
and-
Frankenstein. Bullyability.
I don't know.
not re- she bullies Frankenstein.
She bullies
True.
Frankenstein.
It's
She
true.
bullies him.
She's like, get the hell out of here, man.
Yeah.
I'm hot.
Zero bullyability.
0 bullyability. Lethality, though.
I would assume she's roughly as
She's
strong as
probably
Frankenstein.
strong, but like I'd say she's like a 1 or a 2.
We
She
don't have
has
a lot of
her-
evidence,
Yeah,
you know?
her kill
Yeah.
count is 0. I mean, she kills Frankenstein emotionally.
Yeah,
That's true.
So
Right.
we'll give her a 2 for the emotional murder.
The emotional kill. Yeah.
Brian, I'm honestly surprised you didn't bring up the Mummy.
Yeah, I thought about the Mummy, but I don't know. The Mummy is, I think, a less interesting. The actions that he takes, or at least in pop culture, are just a less interesting version of Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, you're right.
He does the walk.
What about
Yeah,
what about
true.
Brendan Fraser though?
Oh, Brendan Fraser
As a kaiju himself.
Yeah.
Fives across the board. Incredibly strong, but incredibly bullyable.
Very believable.
All right,
All right,
who's
Noel, what's
next?
your
All right,
last
my
one?
last one is this one's really formational for me. Norman Bates from Psycho.
I knew you were going to say Norman Bates. I knew it.
Well, I kind of hinted
Yeah.
at it earlier.
Yeah.
My pitch for Norman is that Psycho is still wildly effective as a movie now.
Yeah.
And most people really don't see the twist coming at all.
Yeah.
And also on an impact level, Michael Myers kind of made the slasher thing a commercial, like a commercial bankable thing of teenagers going to see a movie about teens getting killed.
Yeah, they made him into blockbusters.
But this genre literally would not exist if it was not
It was
for Norman
birthed
Bates.
by
Well, and
Psycho.
also Psycho was a massive success. Like when it
Yeah.
like at the moment
And
it
a
came out.
masterpiece of cinema,
Yeah.
like in general.
And I
like
mean-
not only was it successful, it was
It's
wonderful.
It
It's-
changed cinema. It also changed
Yeah.
the experience of movie watching. Like
Yeah.
before Psycho, people
Yeah.
would go watch the end of a movie and then sit and wait and watch the first half of a movie.
Yeah.
Alfred Hitchcock was like, literally no one's going to be admitted to the theater after the start of the show. So people had to go to the beginning of the film, because if you watch the end of it and then it started again, it wouldn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
Like you have to watch it
There are
from
really
point A to point
fun
B.
like
Yeah.
PSAs with Alfred Hitchcock where he's like letting the audience know that you will not be admitted and to not talk about it like when you leave the theater.
Yeah.
And yeah, great.
No
It's
spoilers.
really good.
Yeah.
The one thing that I will say is that as iconic as Psycho is, I don't know that Norman's
Bates.
Bates.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It's really her, and especially the shower scene. Like, come on.
Yeah.
That is iconic. But I wouldn't count that towards Norman Bates as a villain.
Yeah. I agree.
Yeah, it's
I
tough. It's a
absolutely
big
agree with
gray area there. Yeah.
that. Yeah.
But if his face was on our Mount Rushmore,
It would just be
It
a
would
white
be
guy.
like, it'd be like it's Anthony.
Yes.
Why is Anthony Perkins up there?
exactly. So spookiness.
I do like the idea that someone could say, "Why is Anthony Perkins up there?" and not recognize Psycho. And
Not
like, "Yeah, it's
recognize
Anthony
that it's
Perkins."
Norman Bates.
Well, Norman Bates really kind of ruined Anthony Perkins' career. Like,
Oh, yeah.
because
True.
no one wanted to cast, Norman Bates as somebody.
Spookiness.
Eh.
He's a murderer. He's,
He's a-
just a guy.
He's
I-
a murderer.
I
He's
think-
spooky in the sense that he's a creep, and he's like a very
Yeah.
real sense of a creep.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think
But-
that
I'd still
last
just give him like a 3. Though.
I think he gets bumped up for me because of that last shot where he's having the internal
Oh, yeah.
monologue. It's like,
Yeah.
she wouldn't even hurt a fly, and like that whole
Yeah.
thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the way he does that cross dissolve thing on the very last image where it puts his mother's skull over his face as it fades to
Yeah.
the credits. It's so
I'm
good.
giving him a 3.5.
Yeah, that's fair.
because he's still just a dude, but he's a dude that needs therapy, which is the most scary thing of all.
That is the
any
scariest thing of all.
monster that can pass for normal is the scariest monster of all.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. We gave Michael Myers a 3. I think Norman Bates is a good 3.5.
Yeah.
Is Norman Bates
They're both-
is Norman Bates the first one on this list that can pass for a normal ass dude?
Count Dracula sometimes can in a really dumb
no.
aristocratic way.
gives it away.
No.
What about he's Count Alucard? Who even is that? Nobody's met that guy.
Count Alucard.
I mean, Wolfman can pass for a normal guy
Yeah, most of
in the daytime.
most of the time, most of the month.
All right, iconicness. Again, I think
the movie is incredibly
Yeah.
iconic, but him maybe not so much.
Yeah,
I'd say
Psycho's.
he's maybe a 2.
Yeah, Psycho's a 5. Norman Bates is a 2. Yeah.
Bullyability.
Really easy to bully that guy.
Very
Just show
easy
him.
to
Just
bully
show.
him,
Just
but-
remind him that his mom is dead. That's all you have to do to
But
unravel
it
him as a
doesn't.
person.
It doesn't hurt him. It actually puts you in a lot of danger.
Because he's
bully
going to
him.
kill you, but he's still going to take it personally.
Right.
We'll give him a 1.5. Lethality.
He is just a guy.
He's
gonna
just a
kill
guy.
me.
I mean, he's just a
still
guy.
just a guy.
Like if
just
he
a
I
guy.
give
doesn't,
him like
if he doesn't
a
have
3
the
because
yeah.
he is intent on murdering you.
He's intent on
and
murdering
he is
you,
creepy.
and you will not expect him coming.
Hold on.
Yes.
Who else did we put at a 3?
Pale man.
He is not as effective.
Pennywise.
He is not at the same level of lethality. It is just a man.
Frankenstein.
Our scale, the numbers aren't going to mean
Okay.
shit when
see,
we put
see.
this
Here's
together.
the thing. Our scale has been assuming that we're on a scale of monsters. I think the fact that this man is just a man who you could be beat up.
he's a 1.
He's a 1. I think he's a 1.5.
Can we get a
at
1.5?
most. Yeah, let's say
All right.
1.5.
a
Because
1.5 for persistence.
you don't see him coming.
Yeah,
Yeah,
if
and
you
he is a creep.
if you don't, the fact that he is a wolf in sheep's clothing is 1.5.
Hey, but if there's one thing about Norman Bates you gotta know,
Yeah,
can't kill Norman Bates. Can't kill him.
he's immortal. That's a fun fact. Nobody
Yeah, fun
knows.
fact. They forget to mention that in the movie, but it is in the book.
Norman Bates can only be killed by a silver bullet
A silver bullet or a shower.
or a shower. Hey,
Ayo. That's why he killed her.
All right.
Don't be using those showers
My
around
last
me.
one
yeah.
is definitely not a contender. But I would like to talk about them anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Have you folks seen The Dark Crystal?
Yeah.
I have
the
not actually.
Skeksis from The Dark Crystal.
Now, is there a one specifically you're talking about, or the race in
I
general?
mean, I think all of them are sort of the antagonist of our story.
Yeah.
I would say, the big scary king,
Yeah.
but there's also, our little friend that, grovels around. So the thing about the Skeksis, for those who don't know,
Yeah.
in Dark Crystal. It's a Jim Henson flick. Very scary.
It's Jim Henson indulging his darkest desires.
Yes.
Oh.
It's deeply upsetting. I should not have watched it as a kid. It really messed me up. There are these creatures that are all decrepit and kind of look like turtles, but also vultures, and
Yeah.
they're like weirdly fleshy and naked, and they make this noise that I hate, where they're like,
And they're also like
And it-
falling apart, like they're
Yes.
decaying as they're walking around,
yes.
and this is another metaphor for a ruling class.
Yes, because they're dying as a race, and the whole purpose of the movie is that they're trying to get this energy from the Dark Crystal and from these other species, drawing out the energy with the crystal to, you know, give them life
they're
force and
literally
fuel.
milking the working class dry to continue to exist.
So, yeah, I just think that they're fun, and they traumatized me as a child.
Yeah.
So, spookiness. I mean, honestly, they're not supposed to be, like, horrifying, but their design is very scary.
I think it's a step below Brundlefly in how gross they make me feel.
I mean, we put Brundlefly at a 5, so you want
Ooh,
to put
then
him
a
at a 4?
4. That's powerful. I think it's the only category they're
Pazuzu's
gonna
a
excel in.
4.5, so we'll put him at a 4.
Okay, yeah.
Iconicness,
It's pretty low.
yeah,
real
I'd
low.
say like a 2 or
Yeah,
a
it's
3.
I mean, it's a very niche.
It's for Muppet
thing.
fans and Jim Henson fans,
And
Labyrinth
even a lot
fans.
of Muppet fans hate it. So it's like a very specific.
Oh,
It's
I love
maybe
that movie,
a
though.
1.5.
It did get a Netflix series,
but nobody watched it.
What's it
nobody
called?
watched
The
it 'cause
Age
it
of
wasn't good.
Resistance,
Age of Resistance,
which is
yeah.
just
Yeah,
such a
it's not
vague
good.
title. Like, they could be any fucking video game. Like,
I'd say
I'd give it a 1.5.
yeah, at most I'd give this a 1.5 for sure.
Bullyability.
You can bully the fuck out of these guys if you can
Oh,
get to them.
absolutely.
Because like their whole thing is that it's hard to get to them. But if
Yeah.
you could
Well,
get in a
but
room
we
with them,
do
you could
have
kick
the
their ass.
one Skeksis that like is always being bullied by all the other ones.
oh,
They
that sounds like
their
me.
society is based on bullying.
Their society's based on bullying this
Yeah.
one guy.
Yeah.
But I think in general, as a race, they're like a -2.
I'd say more.
like-
I think they're very vain. They are very They're
vain.
very easy to ruffle their feathers.
I'll give them a 3. Negative
Okay,
3.
yeah.
Lethality.
They're falling apart. You could shove one off a cliff.
Yeah. But
I guess
they
you could
do
shove
have a
anything off
giant
a cliff.
crystal that can suck up your life force.
But are we including the like if say they get teleported to a football field and they have to, like
Yeah, then they're not
if
lethal
they don't
at all.
have their magic crystal.
So I'll give them a 1.5. They're on par with Norman Bates in
Yeah.
the sense that without their one thing, they're no longer lethal.
Exactly. If you put them in the middle of a public pool.
ain't scary.
Ain't
Norman
scary.
Bates in full costume.
Norman Bates in a public pool, terrifying.
Yeah. I agree.
Putting that out
because
there.
you know he's still got his weird blazer on, and he's just standing in the middle of a public pool, being like, "Hey,
Oh,
would you
he
like to have
would
dinner
be-
in my parlor?"
He
Like,
would be like tall enough to just be standing there, just like
yeah,
ugh, smiling at you, just smiling at you.
asking if you'd like to have some milk and ham sandwiches
Oh God,
back in his office.
I do not. Are there any
Would
more
you
things
guys
to?
like to hear the top 4 scores?
I
Oh,
would.
okay.
Wait, no.
Yeah.
Let's go from bottom up. Let's go from worst
Okay.
to top.
Okay. So, at the bottom we have the Skeksis.
Yeah.
They're wonderful though, and I recommend that everybody at least look them up and see what they are. They're really cool puppets. I think they're
Can you spell it
They're
for
really fun.
people? Because that is a vague word.
Isn't it SKEKSIS?
SKEKI.
Guys, that was not helpful at all.
It's SKEKSIS.
I did get it right.
And if you Google the Dark Crystal, you will see everything. I recommend watching it. It's a good watch.
Yeah, it's fun.
Second to last, we have our good friend Norman Bates.
See, here's where I think the problem comes in that we were rating them like gladiators because Norman Bates took a big hit for not being able to go toe to toe with Frankenstein.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, true. But also, if you put his face on Mount Rushmore...
Yeah, you're not gonna see it. You're not gonna know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Third to last, we have a tie.
Ooh.
You guys aren't going to like this.
Oh
Oh
no.
God.
But this is your fault. Between Frankenstein and Pennywise.
Oh, I don't like
Oh, what?
Yeah.
it. Damn.
How is Frankenstein that low? Oh, because we put his.
Frankenstein is that low because
he's super
not very
bullyable.
scary.
And he doesn't want to
And
kill you.
he's
no, his
not very
the
lethal.
ability to bully him. I think there should have been a sympathetic marker to offset some of this.
If you think about it, Frankenstein's not going to kill you.
Yeah.
You're going to make fun of him, and then you're going to
Well, but see, that's my thing, is that I think the thing that makes Frankenstein great is that he's sympathetic.
Yes,
And we didn't factor that in at all. We just said we
Okay,
bully
I'm
him.
just talking about power levels of these guys at this point.
Who would win in a fight?
So, yeah, exactly. And we have another tie
Yeah.
at a solid 6.5 out of 15, by the way.
Okay.
We have The Wolfman and Bride of Frankenstein.
I am fascinated by the fact that they both got an
The
edge up
reason
over because of lethality.
Bride
I
of
guess.
Frankenstein is higher than Frankenstein is because you cannot bully Bride
Yeah,
of Frankenstein.
you cannot
That's
bully Bride
true.
of Frankenstein.
Damn.
It's true.
Fuck, man.
All right.
All right, so are we in agreement that we will have the Rushmore from the numbers and then the Rushmore from an argument that we're going to have later?
Yeah, because
I'm just going to go through the numbers and then we're going to talk about
Yeah.
what our four are.
Okay.
Next up, we have Brundlefly. Sitting right in the middle of the pack, pretty much, which I think fits because not very lethal, but very upsetting.
True.
Yeah, the most upsetting, probably.
Yeah. And then after that, we have Mr. Dracula.
Nice.
After that, we have Pazuzu.
Really?
Okay.
After Pazuzu, we have the Pale Man.
Fascinating.
Not bullyable, but pretty lethal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
After Mr. Pale Man, we have Michael Myers,
Yeah.
yeah. That
whose
that makes
lethality is
sense.
higher than the Pale Man. Do you want to hear who our number one is?
Yes.
It is the Xenomorph.
Xenomorph.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That
reasonable.
makes sense.
Incredibly lethal, incredibly iconic, and so very spooky.
So the Mount Rushmore of this number scale is what?
would be Alien from Alien,
Yeah.
Michael Myers, the Pale Man, and Pazuzu.
Wow, that's
That
really
is-
interesting.
A very
Yes.
modern Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
That's there.
I think we keep Alien.
Yeah.
I would
So
I would also argue to keep Michael Myers, but that may just be
Here,
me.
let's go around and pitch what we want the final Mount Rushmore to be.
Okay. I'm gonna drop Bride of Frankenstein and the Wolfman from my
So you have
People.
Frankenstein, Dracula.
I think Frankenstein, Dracula, the Xenomorph. I could stick with Michael Myers, I think. I think that
valid.
works for me. Yeah.
Nolan.
For me, it is Frankenstein, Michael Myers, Xenomorph, and oh gosh, I'm gonna have to say, I'm gonna have to say Dracula. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess what? I agree with you guys.
Hey!
So our final monster Mount Rushmore features the wonderful faces of the Xenomorph from Alien.
Coming right up, we got the Xenomorph.
Xenomorph!
Bring him on
Give it up for the
down.
Xenomorph.
Oh, he's horrible to touch.
Oh, he's so
Next
slick.
to the Xenomorph, we have our good friend Frankenstein,
Come
made
on
of
down.
many men.
If you're in the audience, Frank Nathaniel Stein, come on down to the stage.
There's so many guys in there.
Next to our beautiful Frankenstein, we have the Count himself, Dracula.
Oh, he's so old.
you were already on the way down. All right, you vain man.
He's on his way to the post office, everybody.
He's been trying to send that
And
letter for
fine-
years.
And finally, to round out the bunch, we have Michael Myers in his melted William Shatner mask.
The shape himself, bring it down to the stage.
All right, guys. So if you ever, drive by Mount Rushmore on your way to the Ghoul School, you'll know who to look for.
Yeah,
Yep.
look, I actually genuinely want to know. I know that there's always the trope of trying to drive engagement by just like asking people random questions for comments, but I do actually want to know what people's choices for a monster Mount Rushmore
Yes,
would be.
I agree.
absolutely.
I think that's really
And
interesting.
I would love it if you listeners, you lovely few, could either comment on our Instagram page, your Mount Rushmore at Ghoul School Pod on Instagram, or you could email your submissions to us at ghoulschoolofficial@gmail.com.
Or give us a comment on that YouTube video. We got a YouTube
Yeah,
channel,
give us
boys.
a comment on YouTube.
All
No
the
matter
podcast
where
episodes
you-
are
listening.
up there.
No matter where you put in your submission, maybe we'll give you we'll talk about it a
Whisper
little bit
whisper
next
it
week.
to
Yeah.
a raven and send it our way.
We'll talk about it in the post credits of the next episode.
Or send Or send it via the post office, whichever. Whatever. It's fine.
And so, another class has come to an end. Renovations to Mount Rushmore can officially begin. And you can all return to the greatest horror of all. Spending time with your families.